to offer to me at their appointed time. And you shall say to them, this is the offering made by fire, which you shall offer to the Lord, 2 male lambs in their first year without blemish, day by day as a regular burnt offering. 4. Numbers 28:4.
The one lamb you shall offer in the morning, the other lamb you shall offer in the evening, and the 1/10 of an ephah of fine flour as a grain offering mixed with 1/4 of a hin of pressed oil. It is a regular burnt offering which was ordained at Mount Sinai for for a sweet aroma, an offering made by fire to the Lord.
7.
Then the drink offering with it shall be 1/4 of a hin for each lamb. In the holy place you shall pour out a drink offering of strong drink to the Lord. The other lamb you shall offer a twilight, as a grain offering of the morning, and its drink offering you shall offer it, an offering by fire, a soothing aroma to the Lord.
What did we see before we traveled? What did we see so far from 1 through 8?
The order.
We see order. Anything else?
This is how he wants his worship.
We see how God has said he wants his worship, not how we want to suggest. Right. Then he says what he wants in his worship. Well, we see, and then do we see time?
Appointed time.
Then we see what? An appointed time. So it's not a matter of I come and it's okay that, and I said we have a tendency of laughing and smiling about it and saying, oh, it's, okay, so you're a little late, it's no big thing. When it is a big thing to the Lord. It is a big thing because you would want him to be late for any situation that you're going through. You would want him to be right on time.
Amen.
So it isn't very important that we take time serious. After all, we take when it's time that's considered, we certainly take it serious, such as work. The man is expected to see you at 8, 8:30, 9, whatever it is. You come up every time, 9:30. You schedule to come at 8. You come up at 8:15, 8:20. Ain't no big deal. Oh, is it?
You get fired.
It's just eventually that's what happens. And so now, how about your own leisure? You've got a ticket to go to a concert. The concert starts at 8 early. Did you hear me? Did you hear me? It's something that you want to be there, and you want to make sure you get a good seat.
Okay.
So you make sure that you're there much earlier than even the time that you're told to be. And so you're searching and hoping that you saw that other chair that was up front. You're hoping the person doesn't even come, so you take that spot. Okay? But the bottom line, see how important time is. And a lot of times we don't take it. So when we come to the church or when we come to God, then we make him secondary. That's what you're saying. Then you make him secondary. Something else I see in this though. What else do you see in this that would also be taken into consideration? What else do you see in this? Something going on. We got the appointed time, but something else going on. What else have we seen? We got the appointed time. Look at it, 1 through 8. You probably see it more closer down from 6 on down.
The continual burnt offering.
Okay, so what else do you see then?
The procedures for offering.
You got the procedure. We got that order. What else do you see? He says,
location where to do this.
okay, that's but there's something else.
And the fact that he had given that to
What
them
does
at
verse
night.
8 say?
The other lamb you shall offer in the evening, as the morning grain offering, and his drink offering. You shall offer it as an offering made by fire, as we aroma to the Lord.
So what do you see then?
The evening.
Morning and the evening.
Morning and evening worship.
Amen.
That's what you see. Morning and evening worship is what you see. Do you think if it would have been And when in the morning you think that would suffice for God? If I don't come in the evening, it's okay?
She's on her way.
I'm asking.
No, we see what she's like.
This is my point. So then, why is it then that this is what was given to them, but to us we don't consider it? To us we do what we want to do. It's almost like you've made a deal with God, and the deal is, I'll see you in the morning, and I don't have to see you in the evening. Or I'll see you in the evening, because I didn't want to come in the morning. Listen to what you're saying. And so you're telling God how to handle His worship, right? That's what you're telling God. And then you're telling God, too, that to save you in the end. You hear me? Then you're telling God, too, to save you in the end. I didn't obey your command, but I certainly want you to save me. How does that work? It doesn't. It doesn't work that way. Well, I'm simply showing you, I said the Old Testament is for our learning. If it's for our learning, what is it? I'm so glad we're not in the Old Testament, right? Because boy, I don't have to follow this. But the Old Testament is for our learning. If it's for our learning, then why don't you follow this? Let's try this. Has God ever changed His worship? He still requires certain things in His worship, right? Only thing that was changed in His worship was what? The Sabbath. Remember? The Sabbath was on a Saturday. And it became Sunday after Jesus did what?
Resurrected when he rose.
When He rose from the grave. So then we now see that this is serious. Somebody said, well, now you're picking on us. No, if the shoe fits, you need to put it on. You need to wear it. And I pray that it convicts your heart to get you to understand. We have to make matured decisions in our walk with Christ. Christ doesn't want us always immature. He wants us to grow up. He wants us to understand that it's about Him. It ain't even about you. It's about Him. And then in Him, He wants you to understand it still ain't about you, it's about others. So when you get someone that comes in on a Sunday evening and no one's here, look at the message you send. Look at the message you send. Now, bro, this is your location. Someone walks in Sunday evening and you know we're around. And you may have 50 million excuses as to why you did what you did, why you did what you were doing. The bottom line is, does it hold water with God? Because God knows why you shouldn't have done it. I think you made a statement. Some of us, if need be, then if nothing else, just stay the rest of the day. Just stay the day.
I do. I just said I do because I know.
Yeah, just stay the day. Yeah, just stay the day. I said, because I said that's exactly what I do. I stay here. I don't go anywhere. I said I stay here. Why? Because I know that there's another worship that's going to take its course. You're just too hard on us, brothers. I said, no. This is what your text. This is what learning God's word is all about. Once you learn it, these are the things that God holds you accountable to. Once you learn the truth. Now what do? I serve this living God, not a dead God. I serve a living God. So then watch this. Then let's go from 9, verse 9. Nine says what? Whose turn was it? Okay. 9 says what?
And on the Sabbath day, 2 lambs of the first year without spot, and 2 tins of meal of flour for a meat offering, mingled with oil, and the drink offering thereof. This is the burnt offering of every Sabbath, besides the continual burnt offering as his drink offering. And in the beginning of your month, you shall offer a burnt offering to the Lord, 2 young bullocks and one ram, 7 lambs of the first year without spot.
So guys, now he's telling them and on the 11th, verse 11, then he brings something else up. You see what he's bringing up? He says, you see what it says? At the beginning, see, of each month, he says, you shall present. Isn't that what you've been doing? Wasn't that what they were doing? Something's going on for this that is taking place. Here's your best answer. Pull your paper.
Here it is.
Verse 4. Pull your paper. Page 4. Second paragraph.
There were monthly sacrifices that were to be made. These sacrifices were a clear symbol of the sacrifice of Christ. Note that a much larger number of animals were to be offered at the monthly sacrifice. This meant that a larger grain offering and drink offering were also to be presented to the Lord. Note also that a sin offering was to be presented to God during the monthly sacrifices. Later in the history of Israel, the new moon festivals were abused. They apparently became festivals for partying, drinking, and immoral behavior.
And so guys, when we look at this, and what we see is, we see a new moon. And we say, what is a new moon? Right? And we say, well, what is a new moon? Anybody familiar with that? What is a new moon? That's what it is. So then what's going on with the full moon? When it's a full moon, then what do you see? When it's a full moon? I mean, isn't it more light when it's a full moon? It's brighter, right? And so what did they do when all of a sudden it was a brighter, when the evening didn't come till late? So what did they do?
Party.
What did somebody say?
Party.
They partied. Stop and think about it. As our weather changes, what do you do? Or what do you see take place more often? Parties. You see parties. You see people staying up later. You see you hear music that you wish they shut down and turn it off, but you hear these things that are going on. And so then what he's saying is there's something wrong with this because that's not what it was designed for. It was designed to do what? It was designed to do what he just told you what you're supposed to do with it. It was. Yeah, now you're going to have even more what? Remember more animals. Remember that's what that was about. More animals involved in this. So now you see, now there's the idea of more animals that have taken their course in this. So now you got to see that something's going on, guys. Yes.
Is this like every individual?
What do you mean?
You know, like I say, he's commanding you to bring, 7 lambs or 2 lambs. This by the whole congregation, each person.
This is not what they're to bring. This is what they are to have.
Okay.
They're to have for that priest to make sure that he has what? These lambs. Make sure that he has this. So then, is this then given, and this is where you come from, then is this then given to someone in particular to make sure that this is taken care of? Or is this then the responsibility of all, right, of the congregation to make sure that he
One person has
has this?
lamb and another person has 2, and they all have to come together.
One person brings the chicken, the other person brings string beans, the other person brings, you see what I'm saying? You catch it?
Yeah.
So this is,
But I know he said that then the Lord spoke to Moses saying, command the sons of Israel and say to them, you shall. And I'm like, the sons of Israel. I that's the men, I was assuming.
what?
You shall be
And so no, you're right, Steve. And so he's done what? I love it, because you're so there. Then who's responsible?
To me.
Then done something. The men then are responsible to make sure that God's worship
Okay.
is going. They're to make sure that there's never no problems with the worship.
I got you.
No matter what, that's morning or evening. The men are to make sure that that worship is going on.
Right.
And Sunday, we could have the sisters do the worship. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? But you know I'm telling the truth. I said you had an outsider that came in, and if it hadn't been for the outsider, then it'd just been me doing everything. Let's move on. So we've got this festival that's going on. I know, but it is,
Hey,
It's
I'm
wrong.
guilty. I said, I guess you getting older. Say that's okay.
well,
You
that's
can get
wrong.
one.
It's wrong.
Okay,
And it's wrong, and it's almost like, and I don't know what would happen to other events if it stops us from doing what we need to do. That's what it comes down to, because we got fed, and then we disappeared. And then we counted on, well, I know that brother gonna take care of that. So we counted on somebody else to do something. When, I'm sure if Moses would have said, no, I'm gonna go ahead and let, Eliezer, here we go. No, it is Moses' responsibility to make sure it's going on. It's Eliezer's responsibility to certainly step up and to take care of it, yes.
We have to realize it's a commandment. When it's a commandment,
That's it. Well, to do what?
realize it's a commandment.
Yeah, I
Moses
like that.
understood.
I like that.
Right.
I like
That's the key, commandment,
Right,
obedience.
right. Like you said, that's what it comes down to. It is a commandment. So it's not a matter of me asking somebody else or hoping someone else will pick up something. When I'm commanded, since I am part of the leadership of the church, I'm going to make sure that she's running, she's going. I don't care how tired I am or how much food I had. Maybe I shouldn't have ate as much. But the bottom line is, this is the command that is given them. And it is, and I don't see where the command has stopped for men. I don't see where it stopped for men. I told you the Old Testament is where I learned. So then watch this. Then we're going to travel. The 12 says what?
3/10 of an ephah of fine flour as a grain offering, mixed with oil for each bull. 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour as a grain offering, mixed with oil for one grain. 1/10 of an ephah of fine flour, mixed with oil as a grain offering for each lamb, as a burnt offering of sweet aroma, and an offering made by fire to the Lord. Their drink offering shall be half a hin of wine for a bull, 1/3 of a hin for a ram, and 1/4 of a hin for a lamb. This is the burnt offerings for each month throughout the months of the year.
So then, does it sound like that it requires a lot of responsibility? And so it sounds like if this isn't done, then we got a worship problem, right? If this isn't completed, we got a worship problem. I wonder what happened, or what would have happened then, if they didn't complete that worship.
Wrapped up.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah, like I said, I'm not writing nobody no more now. But listen to what this would have done. If they hadn't have met this, didn't we see prior so many things that took place with them when they were disobedient?
Yes.
Then we see men killed or families torn and what is it? And the grounds opened wide and swallowed them. And by the way, I don't see this going on and on for them to miss this. I see this as a one-time event when these things took place. And they were all one-time event. So that if we look at our text, You see what he's requiring of them. I told you, we've already explained what these things are. So we now know that the bottom line, these offerings were to do what? They were to be a what? A sweet aroma to the Lord. It's what they were to be. So if he's not getting them, then where's the aroma? So I'm saying, then he's not getting them. It is the same way with our worship. Our worship is to give him what? Praise and honor. And when we don't do that, like I stated, it becomes what? It's no longer ignorance. It's disobedience is what it comes down to. And what do we do? And what will God do? At his appointed time, he doesn't forget. At his appointed time, discipline has to be taken place. I've stated this. None of our sins will go freely without discipline. None of our sins. Every sin we produce, we will be disciplined behind. Yet God does what? Forgives and
Forgets. He gives us mercy.
and he'll let them go. But you've got to what? Come to God. But look how this works. I can't come to God because I know what I was doing. Did you hear me? I can't come to God because I know I was wrong at what I was doing. God does too. God knows. But Satan says, I want you to feel exceptionally guilty behind the wrong you've done. To the point that I'd rather you run from God instead of to God. You hear me? This worship is serious. It's not to joke around with. It is a command that he told them to do. It's nothing to mess around with. Now I want you to see something that's even more serious. Look at verse 16.
We skipping 15?
Did we go to 15?
No.
Yeah, that was all there.
Also, one kid of the goat as a sin offering to the Lord shall be offered besides the regular burnt offering and its drink offering. That was it. Okay, so that was it.
And in the 14th day of the first month, in the Passover of the Lord's, and the 15th day of the month is the feast. 7th day shall unleavened bread be eaten. In the first day shall the congregation.
Okay, your 17 says what? So then if we go back and look at this, and this is where they're going to really get us to understand something. Passover, what is a Passover? That's what he talks about.
Christ, the Lamb of God.
What is it?
There was a Passover.
What is the Passover? That's
a
feast.
That's a symbol. What is the Passover?
Delivers of,
I'm sorry?
delivers of the people from slavery in Egypt.
In Egypt.
Yeah.
So that's what the Passover was. So we'll understand what Passover means. But Passover means what?
They moved.
The word itself means what? It means Passover. That's what it means. It means Passover. And so what does it mean? It means those that were obedient, God did what? He passed over them. Those that weren't, and by the way, we need to get this out of our heads. For some reason or another, we believe the Israelites were saved. Not all the Israelites were saved.
Right.
Not every Israelite agreed with what was going on. You had some Israelites too that said, "Oh man, please, don't worry about it." Remember, remember they've been in slavery for how long? I mean, 400 years. So stop and think about it. What comes with being in slavery that long?
Your mentality.
Your mentality. Do you become then a part of? You go along with their customs. Whatever their customs are, then you become a part of it. Now, what would be their custom?
Idolatry.
You got it. That's what would be their custom. They're used to having, just like they have those statues, they would have statues. Their customs would line up according to, their customs would line up exactly like, which is, we would say their customs, but it would be a part of a custom. You've never had, I'll try this. You've never had a lot of money and all of a sudden someone gives you, you won the lottery or something. And all of a sudden now you have millions. And you say, I will remain just like I always.
You know that's what.
You see what I'm saying? Because here's the deal. Your first lie is because you want to get a home. That's your first lie. Because you want to get a home. Could you get a home before you won the lottery? How did you live before you won the lottery? Weren't you comfortable before you had the lottery? Stop and think about it. But now that you have something else bigger, what do? I got to do what? I got to live better. I tell my wife, I says, as I watch HGTV, I says, it's funny when I see old folks talking about getting a home. They're in a home, but they now want to buy another home. I said, for what? Why do you need to buy another home? You're closer to death, but you want to buy another home. Why don't you use that money and pass it on to your children? But you see it all the time, if anybody's watching HGTV, you see it all the time, where then they want to buy a beach house, a beach home. And you're like, you don't even want to go out in a bikini. So why are you purchasing this? Why? Because, then here's another one. Old man sees young girl, what does he use? And he got the money, what does he usually do?
Sports car.
Now I gotta go buy a Porsche.
Tesla.
A Tesla. I don't know if he wants a Tesla.
Oh,
I don't know if he wants a Tesla. He wants a sports car.
He wants a Corvette.
Yeah, he wants a Corvette. He wants something, a Porsche. He wants a convertible that he can let the top down and his toupee flower. But yeah, a bald head. And he got the little ponytail, but he got a little bald head. But you see what I'm saying? Let me pull this in. But you see what I'm talking about? When you say culture, you fall into the culture of where you are, or what you were. That's what you become a part of. And you don't even realize it. Well, they were in slavery for how many years? 400. Stop and think about it. 400 years, and then God says, and this is not the first time He's told them this, but God says, I want you to always honor that Passover. Is that 17? 17 says what?
And in the 15th day of this month is the feast. 7 days shall unleavened bread be eaten.
So you didn't say Passover. Let's get another one.
16.
16, that's in 16 said.
And in the 14th day of the first month is the Passover.
That's what I want to hear. So now you got a Passover. Watch this. Who would know a Passover? You've been in slavery for how many years? So what is what is He going to do? Who's He giving those instructions to? Who did He give those instructions to? Who did he give those instructions to? Moses. That's who he gave the instructions to.
He gave it to the Israelites.
So he gave the instructions to Moses. He gave the instructions then to his what? He gave the instructions to his leader, that man of God. That's who he gave it to. Don't you think some of them had a problem with these instructions?
Yes.
Go back. I've been enslaved for 400 years. And now you're going to give me some instructions. First of all, I was scared to death to even hear your voice. So that's why Moses is really the appointed one. But Moses is now giving us instructions that says, doggone it, I have to be there. Doggone it, I have to bring this. Why I have to bring this? Oh, shoot, you won't feel like going. You know, somebody's got to be playing stickball or something out there. You hear me? Something's got to be sandball or something, because we're in the desert. But somebody's got to be doing something. Why we all got to go? Moses reminded them. It's a command. Remind them, Moses, because if they go against the grains, who does it affect? Who's the them? You there? Who's the them? Oh, ain't that something? That's what we want to think. It affects what? Generation after generation.
Generational curse.
Isn't that something? It gets bigger, it's much bigger than what you thought. See, you thought it was just, well, it's just, they in trouble, they know better, they shouldn't have did that. But this affects the generations. This is his worship. I guess now y'all know where I'm headed. When we don't do what God asks us to do. I don't understand what's going on with the world, you don't. It affects what we do, affects the children. What we do, what we don't do affects the children. Your mom and daddy told you to get in there even if they didn't show up. Get in there, I want you in Sunday school. Get there. They even dropped you off. But get there. And then they finally got chewed out and they realized we better start getting in there. Why? Because Paul made a statement. Paul made the statement in 1 Corinthians 11 chapter verses 1. Be ye
Imitators.
imitators of who?
Me.
Of me.
Yeah.
Of the rest of the Israelites, of everybody else in the church. No, of you. Charles Barkley put out a statement many years ago and got himself in all kinds of trouble. I am not
A role model.
a role model. Then you stop playing ball. Then you go back into poverty. Because yes, you are a good role model. We have got to understand we are Christians. Because we are Christian, somebody is watching you. Somebody admires you. Somebody respects you. Somebody wants to be just like you. And they don't understand why you do what you do, because I really think that you were awesome. You see where I'm going with this now? This is what he's doing with them. So watch this. So we got this Passover in 16, right? The Passover came in, right?
Got the feast.
We got the feast that came in, right? Pull your paper. Now watch this. Now watch this. Page 4. Hold on, somebody don't, you just came from Norway. Hold on.
He's on page 4.
Says what,
There
Claudia?
was a Passover?
Uh-huh.
Oh, go ahead, Claudia.
I don't care. No.
A symbol of Christ, the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world. The Passover celebrates the great deliverance of God from Egyptian slavery. God freed his people from the world so that they could live life to the fullest in the promised land of God. They were free to live life to the fullest, free to worship and serve God fully. They were to live lives that were holy, righteous, and pure, would be dynamic witnesses to the surrounding nations of unbelievers. This was the very purpose for which God
Calvin, Genesis
had
19,
given to his people.
27. I may be off, but Genesis 19, 27. Come off, you bitch. What does it
Say
say?
now, this city is near enough.
Go ahead.
It says, see now, this city is near enough to flee to, and it is a little one. Please let me escape there. Is it not a little one?
Go ahead.
And my soul shall live.
Go ahead.
And he said to him, see, I have favored you concerning this thing also,
Go ahead.
and that I will not overthrow this city for which you have spoken.
Keep going, Calvin. It's there. That's it. You close.
Hurry, escape there, for I cannot do anything until you arrive there. Therefore, the name of the city was called Zoar.
Sorry, is this Genesis 19?
That's not
Genesis 19,
27. 27. That's
Oh.
not 1927.
25. That's why.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm like,
You should have found it. I don't know why you
okay.
didn't.
So he overthrew the city, did all the plans, and all the inhabitants of the city, and what grew on the ground.
But 26 says what?
Let me learn. Okay. 26. But his wife looked back behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. And Abraham,
What does this text have to do with Genesis 19:26? That's where we're at. Now, go back into your Bible.
disobedience.
Says what? I think Teresa, you was 17 says what?
And in the 15th day of this month is the feast. 7 days shall unleavened bread be eaten. And the first day shall be in holy convocation.
Let me back up. Go back up to, I said 17. 16, what I meant. So, I'm sorry.
Okay, and in the 14th day of the first month is the Passover of the Lord.
And so the Passover, they were to do what? To be reminded, right? The Passover is to remind them of what they didn't like, right?
Yes.
Nobody likes slavery. So it's to remind them of what they didn't like.
And escape from.
And watch this, and they were to never do what?
Look back.
You gotta keep going. You have got to appreciate the promised land. You won't appreciate the promised land if you do what? If you look back. It is the same way with our lives.
I walk with Christ.
That's right. Our walk with Christ, we are not to do what?
Look back.
We can't look back. Because if we look back, what's going to take place?
You start to desire to do with the things
And maybe you don't desire it. Because you're there. I like that. Because that's one. But what does it do? Looking back.
Makes me feel guilty.
It reminds you. Now, what does it remind you of? Because, let me try this. In your Christian walk, you're hit with all the, what'd you say? With all the don'ts.
Yeah.
Stop and think about it. Your Christian walk, you've been told what you can do. All the don'ts. What do you mean? Well, what can I do? I can't go I can't just go to any movie no more. I can do that. I can't just go to any party no more. I used to do that. Right, you say, I have to watch how I dress. Come on.
I mean, this is what was told to me.
Come on. Go ahead. You talk.
Don't look at a man, sit this way.
You gotta have on
stockings. You gotta have on stockings.
Lord have mercy.
Don't wear too much jewelry.
Okay.
Watch you eat proper.
So it is a reminder of what you
So look at all the don'ts that you have in Christianity.
Wow.
He is saying the Passover is to watch, to look, don't look back, right?
Right.
But the Passover is to do what?
To remind you.
To look forward. The Passover then is to look forward. Why? Because you only had so much time to leave. Remember? We're going to talk about this 11 because he's talking about 7 days, right? Or is it 15 days? What is it?
Day
15 days. Go ahead.
of this month.
The 15th day of this month.
And it's 7 days.
And you got 7 days.
Shall unleavened bread be eaten.
Watch this. So what happens to the leavened bread? You know all that food bread you didn't buy in the house? What did you say? But what if you're disobedient? What if you're disobedient? Now you're just talking. You're not, come on, we got studied. It's okay. So now what happens? What happens to the bread? What happened to the bread when they did it, when they tried to gather? It turned, come on. It turned into worms, and it was molded, it was rotten. And it, watch this, and it was only what? You only held it for one day because you call yourself going to pick it up and you was going to keep I'm going to keep me some right here for the next day. Right? And it did what? And in your tent, you got worms running around. You see what I'm saying? In your tent. That was God sending a message. I'm telling you, until you stop depending on you, until you start to depend on me and move forward, then you're going to always reminisce. You're going to always want to go back.
Yeah.
Failing to understand, we're talking about worship. Wait a minute. What did I do when I was somewhere else in worship? What did I do? Let's see. Yes.
Yeah, I was just going to say, worship is important when I understand that I've been delivered. And they've been delivered. And they need to understand that.
You got it.
Now it's resulted in a command.
Right. And God has done what so many times when they did not obey. Turned them around. They went back. Every time they went against God, He turned them back. Your last event was Aaron. And Aaron was to do what? He was to go, he saw the promised land, I'm going to cross over. And when he got this close, God says, Aaron, you need to turn around and go back. You will be buried with your people. What a crazy thought. Not Aaron was the only one that didn't turn back. All turned back because of one sin. Well, sin, I just did it like this because of one sin. They all turned and had to go back. Can you imagine how many? I'm getting flashbacks myself. Back in the days when I was playing ball. Steve, you know what I'm talking about? Red lines. And you were told to do them and hit and go back. And one clown didn't touch the line. Just one clown didn't touch the line. And he said, come back. Everybody tired into work. You tired, you mad. And he said, and we will do this until you get it, until you do it right. We'll do this till you do it right. And everybody is looking and saying, I'm going to beat your mind since we get out of here. Look what you caused us to do. Well, stop and think about it. This is what God is telling you. Until you do it right, you want a church to grow. Uh-oh. Did you catch it? Amen. But until you do right, you're not going to grow this. Well, y'all need to hear me. I'm not going to grow. Immature people produce immature disciples. I have to have mature people. People who will take on responsibility. But I'm afraid that's your problem, because it didn't come from God. That fear came from something you conjured up. Didn't come from what God is trying to get you to do. So we've got this issue. We got a Passover. The Passover, I told you, your paper said they were holy. Look at my bullet points. They were to live lives that were holy,
righteous, and pure.
Come on.
Would be dynamic witnesses to the surrounding nations of unbelief.
Why do we do what's right? Didn't I tell you somebody's watching you? Did you catch it? You don't even realize it. Your neighbor said, it's supposed to be that evening worship. And then they got nerves to come over and ask me if I want to go to morning worship. What's the difference? I don't see a transition. I don't see them making any sacrifices. You say, but I'm making plenty of sacrifices. When somebody don't want to do what's right, all it takes is, am I wrong? All it takes is one. I gotta see. Told you. I didn't want to go nowhere. But you had me bent in where I will finally have to say something to you. But when I started to see how you handle things, I said, I didn't have to worry about it. If they ever confront me, I'll tell them, oh please, stop it. You are a morning Christian. You're not an evening. Did you hear me? He made them go into the morning and the evening. I'm sure some of them said, what? Please. I got things to do. They didn't have television. But I got things to do. Do you hear me? And yet they had things to do. Sound like us. We always get room for something else other than serving God. And yet if there was a major earthquake, you probably have a problem with parking. Hold on. In the evening. I said morning. In the evening, you probably have a problem with parking. Do you know where I'm coming from? When we say we love the Lord, then we must obey the Lord. They were told that for that 15th day, they were to eat unleavened bread. What am I going to do with this other bread that I got sitting in this house? Did you catch it now? What am I going to do with it? Well, what you should have done by following, just like you do when you went for a concert, you made sure you had a new outfit. That's called preparing yourself. Well, it's the same way here. What I should have done was, I know the 15th day, baby, y'all, we need to hurry up and eat this stuff. We need to hurry up and eat this stuff. And whatever we don't eat, we need to get rid of. But you know what I mean? Maybe there's another family down the street that doesn't have, and they'll probably want this. Let's give it to them. But wisdom would say, why you buy like that? When I know the 15th, I'm going to have to eat unleavened bread. What is that? You see it. Now you can see it. So now watch this. He says, this was the very purpose for which God had delivered and given the freedom to His people. Watch this. God gives His people liberties.
That's right.
He gives His people freedom. But if you're not in Christ, you don't see the freedom. You see it as a job. You see it as, dog, you got to go down here. I said, even in a marriage, when there's a relationship amongst the spouses, and one of the spouses see it as a job, you turn up God's relationship. You turn it up. It should not be a job. And coming to worship God is a job? Something to think about it. Right, I like that. It should be a joy, not a job. Because, guess what? What if my neighbor was looking? What if my neighbor said, hey, where are you going? Where are you headed to? They won't understand worship, so you say, church. I'm headed to church. They don't give you no signs, but you just planted a seed and don't even know it. You just put a seed in that head. Wow. I used to say to some young ladies that was really struggling with their husband, you know what? You keep coming.
That's right.
You just keep coming. If nothing else, out of curiosity, they'll come. If nothing else, then they see somebody in here and see you talking, then the jealousy will rise. And then it make them keep coming, because you coming. But you hear me? Until they grow up and do what? And learn to serve God on their own. We are God's people. The world ain't going to change because where's our change? Where's our change? Where's our taking God serious? Where's ours? And if we don't take it serious, the world is like it is because I told you, generation. Somewhere generation dropped the ball. You say, well, that's why it's happening, because see, that generation before me is what dropped the ball. So two wrongs make a right. Somebody's got to correct the wrong. Somebody's got to do something. I was talking to this young lady just a few minutes ago. You've got a family that doesn't know Christ. They have their own religions that they're a part of. This is divine. God takes you out of that family. God calls you into His family. It's going to produce division. But why is it producing division? Because you have the truth. And people today don't want the truth. They want something that makes them feel good. And so what do? Why do you think there's so many different churches out here? Because I'll just keep hunting till I find the church that makes me feel good. When what I should be searching for is the truth. That's what I should be searching for. So then watch this. Let's go on. Your 17, somebody got the paper, read, finish reading paper. Go ahead.
Passover was tied to the festival of unleavened bread. This was the first of the great national festivals that were held each year. It was celebrated in the first month of the year, Nisan, which was somewhere around March or April on our calendar.
Keep going.
The Passover was a symbol of Christ and his sacrifice. Jesus Christ referred to his death as an exodus or departure from this world. The word exodus means actually death, decease, or departing.
What does what? I made the statement, I put this one down, but that statement makes sense. What did Jesus say on that cross?
It is finished.
He said it is finished. That is exodus.
That's right.
That means I have now departed. I've departed. I'm sorry. Yeah, like exit. Let's pick up and but yeah, exit. Right. So watch this. But he's saying not just the idea of exit. He's talking about something that has what that produced that will come about in us called death. He says so. Death, when death comes upon us, we can never return. We can never come back. But what he uses here is exodus, and it actually means departing. All he's saying is now it is finished. I can now depart. Right. I can now leave. Leave what? Leave this flesh because of who I am. Yeah, Jim, okay. Because of who I am. What? And watch this. And he wants us to understand who we are. You're not flesh and blood. Watch this. You are of the Spirit. Hold on. But the world is still flesh and blood. And that's why they don't understand you. And that's why you are to set the example. You set the example. They need a reason.
Live by example.
You got it. So they need a reason. I don't think, why you go down there? They have a party on Tuesday? Yeah, they sure do. You need to come down. We celebrate who? Christ. We need to learn about who he is. I've made this statement. Not everybody wants to go to heaven. You say, no, I'm telling you the truth. Not everybody, I don't care how much you say you want to, I want to go to heaven. No, you don't. Because how you carry on, you ain't going to know nobody when you get there, so you're miserable. Stop and think about it. But if you have that relationship with Christ, watch this, Christ wants you to have that relationship with others, so then when you get them, hey, Bill, I see you made it. Oh, now I have somebody I can kick it. Well, hey, Cal, what's up, man? No, you see what I'm saying? There's plenty of people. But here's the thing.
We're going to be praising him.
Well, watch this. But he also said you are to be known as you are. So yes, we are. So yes, we are. Why come you can't?
What you been up to?
Why come you
can't? A long time.
No, but not like that. But you know what I'm saying. Yeah, but you know what I'm saying. But yes, I will know you as you are down here. I will know you.
Amen.
So it is, and see, I think what we have is this. We're going to be praising God day and night. Praising God day and night. What you doing? Praising God day and night. Why? When you going to say, I ain't praising God day and night. I'm just going to be praising God day and night. He says in Revelations 21, he says, God will create a new heaven and earth. Why are you creating a new heaven and earth? What did they do, Adam and Eve? What did Adam and Eve do?
They lived on.
They lived, but they praised
God.
God. But they still lived, but they praised God.
You will want to.
Stop and think about it. I told you, boy, we just get these old symbols and we think, Lord, every time, pray, just stand, pray, just pray. No, I lived too. Adam and Eve lived.
Christ said,
He says a new heaven.
Christ's going to prepare a mansion for us.
Well, and in the Greek, all that means is a dwelling place. It can be this big. But the Bible, but when it says dwelling place. Well, because you don't know how big you
Earth, where we will dwell. The saints will be dwelling on the new heaven and earth.
A new heaven and a new earth.
Right, and that's where the saints will be.
Well, here's your, I don't mean to get into this, but here's the thought. You think heaven, you say heaven, but there are how many heavens?
Three heavens.
What is he killing? What is he taking away? Two of them. He says, and what am I going to establish all over? A new what? A new heaven and a new earth. So what did he remove?
The old earth and the old heaven.
So what is the old heaven?
Here.
What is the old heaven? Let's see. Let's see. We're in the first heavens is what? It's the clouds. It's the clouds. He says, so I'm going to create a new heaven and a new earth. Clouds, earth. Clouds, earth.
That's the first heaven.
Huh?
That's the first heaven.
But that's what he's creating that.
Okay.
Why? Adam and Eve sinned.
This is contaminated.
It was this, what is contaminated? This first heaven, this first earth.
The second heaven, what about the second heaven?
What's contaminated about it? You been up there? Yes, go ahead. So
Why is he creating a new earth if we're not going to exist in that new earth?
But you're right, that's why I said that's why he's creating it. So we will exist.
Okay.
So you're there. So we will exist. What I'm trying to get them to see is a lot of times we have this, we praise God day and night. We're going to be praising God like that's all we're going to be doing. Then praise God day and night. No, you will be living. Now you're going to live a righteous life. Guess what? He's in your mess. He's there now. Sin will never be able to penetrate again. Because he's going to do what? He's going to destroy you. And he's going to then what? Send it away. He's going to send it away. That's your Revelation 20. And he's going to send it all out. He's going to remove it. But you now have peace. Watch this. I think that's my issue. I think the issue is we keep hearing rest. So we think rest is, woo! Ah! I think that's what we see rest. When he's talking, that's not what he's talking about. Your rest is you will be doing things. Adam and Eve were at rest.
So you have.
But they were nurturing.
So in other words,
that garden.
Okay, when you say we're at rest, that we're at rest from sin, from all the sin, the diseases.
Yes.
We have peace.
Yes, so watch this. He says on the seventh day he did what?
Rest.
Did he?
No, he didn't.
Because if he did,
Everything.
then everything would be what? Chaotic. So then his rest was he still held the universe in place.
He
So
blessed what he had created.
Yes.
What he had formed.
Yes, I'm done with that.
Sanctified.
That's it. And it's the same way here. Watch this. For those that are obedient.
Amen.
It ain't for everybody. That's why I made, back into your text, that's where the struggle is. They are going, let's just see, they're going to a place of rest. We call it the promised land. But they're going to a place of rest. That's going to require what?
Obedience.
And you're going to have to do what? Nurture the land. You're going to still till the ground. I mean, when you get over there, food is going to be there, but you still got to take care of business.
You don't have food?
Yeah.
Didn't they have food?
Oh.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Yes.
Manna.
But like I said, I know we're going to have a new earth and a new heaven. We're going to have new bodies too.
Yes.
So it's new.
And it's for who? Who's going to have new bodies? Believers. Only believers. If you have not been in Christ, put in Christ, that body that you left, you know that one that you got ran over, somebody hit you, it was a hit and run, took your head off. God is going to put that back on you. That's yours. When's the last time you dressed trash? When's the last time you dressed trash? You don't dress trash. Yes.
I have a question, it might be superficial, but what age will we be in heaven? Like, will that be the age that we go home to the Lord that will then be in heaven, or is it whatever age you were saved?
How about this? What'd you say? Age, and I put less.
Less?
Ageless.
Ageless. Oh.
There's no time exists.
Oh.
Time, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. The beginning, the word is in. In the Greek, it's also in your Hebrew, it means in. Who's in? So we need to find out. It's not God's in, because God always was. He always exists. So then time was for us. Time existed for us. We're the one that have time. That's why when he looks on, when we look into our Genesis, we're back in our numbers, he says that to do this at an appointed time. What do you mean? God ain't got no appointed time. But he's given you an appointed time, because this is about what? Obedience. This is about God testing us. See, I told you we're looking for that great test. When that test may be just being here on time. That may be the test God is sending you. You see how silly, you see how sickening that can be? Wait a minute, Lord, but I was doing this, and Lord, I was doing that, and then I wasn't on time. And God says, and I know. And not only were you not on time, but let me go pull the record and show you how many times you weren't. You hear me? This we are playing, this is divine. This is no joke. God has got two records, right? Two books, right? The book of life, and then he's got your records. What gets destroyed when you're a Christian? That record. Satan's blood, Jesus' blood does what?
Get it right, man.
Jesus' blood does what? Well, watch it. Satan's blood does what? Kills, okay? So what Jesus' blood does what? It's saying, so Jesus' blood is what, if anything, blood, when it covers something, can you get it out? Hold on. Can you get it out once blood covers something? No. Isn't that something? So Jesus says, my blood then covers your sins. And watch this, and then when it covers it where it can't be seen. So if the Father wanted to pull the records, he can't see nothing, because Jesus' blood has covered it up. For some of us. For some of us.
For me. And it's still only by his grace.
Go ahead.
She says by his grace.
So you said that the blood covers the record, but when we die, doesn't our record get looked at again?
There's the issue. We don't die. That's the issue. We don't.
Believers don't die.
As a Christian,
Christ, Romans the 6th chapter. Christ died once and for all. And for all. Romans the 8th chapter says, now therefore there is no consolation for those that are in Christ Jesus.
Condemnation.
See that?
Condemnation.
Condemnation.
I know how to get consolation.
Well, that's what consolation is. Right.
You were testing us, right?
No, I wasn't. That was wrong too. But the bottom line is, bottom line is, Simone, so that you'll understand the sense of that. That Sheol looks dead. That body has to do what? Return back to the earth. It has to go because it was made from the earth. Your problem with your life is you're depending on your flesh to dictate your life. This is what God is doing right now with them. He's telling them to do you really think God gonna eat them lambs? Do you really think he's gonna drink that wine? Do you really think it? Then if he was, why did he say burn it up? Why did he say burn up everything when he was giving it to him? What are you talking about? He says, and it said what? So what, that smoking smell like that's a sweet aroma to him? What's going on? He said, because of what you've done, the smoke says you did it. That's what it is. The smoke said you did it. Since you did it, then you have followed you've done the act of obedience.
So
that's what he said.
Obedient, we're like a sweet.
That's why it says that Hebrews 10:24, we're not to forsake the assembly. I wish God had said the evening assembly. Did you catch it?
amen.
Because for some reason or another, we believe we can forsake that part of the assembly. But the morning assembly, that's what he's talking about. These are simple things that God is taking us through. We're going through a test. You keep hollering you love him. You keep hollering that, you are a Christian. God says you got to go through fire. I got to, just like I tested them, I got to test you too. To see where you stand. If you love me, then you'll keep my commandments. Then you'll keep it. But watch this. But I made the statement. You don't get it. I'm sure when we don't be where we're supposed to be, we have in our minds a legitimate reason. A legitimate excuse. The only problem is, guess who was watching you as you were making yourself late? Guess who was watching you?
God.
So then, when you come up with a legitimate excuse, what is God doing? Because God is saying you're lying. He says, as back in your Hebrews 24, he said 10:24, he says you ought to prepare as you see the day approaching. So I am to get my act together before, not, it's Sunday, let me get here and iron me some clothes, and well, Lord have mercy, and what else am I going to do? You too. So I'm saying now, so Brother Thompson got to understand, I was ironing and I burnt my skirt. Or I burnt my pants, so I got to get some more. That's what made me late. No, God says, as you see the day approaching, you know the Lord's day is coming. Aren't you ready? My wife will tell you, my stuff is ready. My wife will tell you, 7 o'clock I'm out. I ain't out by 7, I got an attitude. I got an add in my tube. Okay? And watch this. And by 7:35, I'm pulling up into this parking lot. Did you hear me? I'm pulling up. And I've got so many things that need to be done. So when you come in, you just walk in, everything looks like it's all nice and neat. Oh, yeah, you did hear me? Yes, this is good.
Well, one thing I like before 25 on Hebrews 10 is that the reason we don't forsake the assembly, we do that to encourage each other.
That's right. That's
to
right.
love and good works. It says that in 24.
That's
why it's important that you come.
Right, because you're a great encouragement for one another.
Right.
Yeah.
Take a string, a strand of a string. You can snap it.
That's right.
Take a rope. Let's see if you can snap it. It won't snap. Satan says, when you do things on your own, you're that strand.
Right.
And snap it. I can convince you that what you're doing is right. Because you're just a strand. But when you are to come together as one big rope, Satan says, I got to ease up, get out of here, because there's no way in the world I'm going to break that bond.
That's right.
He sure says it. So that's what we have to think about. We as Christians, we've got to learn how to come. It's called making sacrifices.
Amen.
Even though, I could be doing this or doing that. No, I heard Steve say it, I heard Carol say, my car wants to go left, but I need to go right.
That's right.
Well, that's where it comes. Those are the sacrifices. I really have, Satan will give you everything you need to do on Tuesday. He'll give you everything you need to do come Wednesday. He'll give you everything. He'll remind you of everything you needed to do. And don't even mention Sunday. Oh my God, he'll remind you.
It's here already?
And watch this. And watch this. And when you lay down, don't just like
I just closed my eyes.
you hear me say, I just close my eyes and here it is time to go. But watch this. So what does he do? Satan says, I want you to understand. You need to get your clothes washed there. No. So you need to do it Sunday evening. You don't get it. Do you know what game will be on? This is the playoffs now. Do you know you need to be there watching that? Watch this. Satan will do one better than that. He'll say, you know what? When's the last time you really went out to have a good meal? With family. With family. And watch this. And you're with family, you left the church at 1. And you're with family, and you watching that clock. Yeah, that clock is just moving. That clock finally started to say something to 5, and you say, well, that's it. I am with family. Yeah. When God is trying to tell you these are the challenges that Satan throws at you. What are you going to do? What do you do? I said, here's what I do. Because I want to set an example for my family. Here's what I do. I said, guys, I've had a great time. Don't get me wrong. A beautiful time. It's 4:30. I need to get on back. Huh? I need to get on back. You said, wait a minute. But man, you can miss one time. No, I can't. I've got to get back. This is the seriousness of what he's talking about. This is divine. The church itself is divine. This is divine. This ain't nothing. You got some men out there that have made a church, 2 Corinthians 11, chapter 13 and 14, who have actually made a church. And they give you the opportunity, if you don't want to make it, don't worry about it, you're all right. But God's church says, I made it. Man's hands didn't make this. I made it. I give you instructions on how, when I want you to do. Somebody said, well, why do we have to come at 9 o'clock? Because of the brothers, whoever set this up, agreed that it would be 9 o'clock. Not 9:01, 9:10, 9:15. This is what you agreed to. And so then we just follow that. That's where it goes. And God's pleased with it. I told you not everybody wants to go to heaven. I told you that. Because some of these rules you don't like. Do I have to be there? No, you don't have to. That's what Christ is trying to tell you. You don't have to. Just when you die, you don't have to go to heaven either.
So that's what
Yes.
the narrow way means.
Yes, that's why I said, and that's why I said what? But a few.
Yeah.
Only a few will enter in. Only a few. Well, that few that takes this serious. That few that says God is real. That few that says, Lord, I don't understand. And God is saying you don't have to understand. You just do it. Just trust me. Just do it. And I got a plan. I don't know about you all, but if you check the stock because of China, that stock did what? And that thing plummeted all the way down. Watch this, and you say, Lord, have mercy. I'm scared to death. No, I trust in God. It's going to be all right. He'll work through this. We're so dependent upon ourselves and won't admit it when we're supposed to trust in God. Are there any questions, guys?